This video is brought to you by Jab.se, the lead supplier of MMA gear in Scandinavia. BetSafe.com, Europe's only online betting site for MMA.
Okay. Sebastian Vendel-Martinez of MMA in it and Studio MMA, and we are here with Brad One Punch Pickett, who faces Mike Easton on UFC Stockholm 2013. And tell us, Brad, how are you?
I'm fine, thanks. I'm in England at the moment for the fights at UFC at the weekend, Barrow versus McDonald's, and it's nice to actually be quite a big event and watching it rather than fighting. So I'm looking forward to watch it as a fan.
Yeah, what's it like? Because I understand that the experience must change a bit once you're the one actually in the cage. It must feel pretty nice to be able to watch it without having to actually be the one punching people.
Yeah, exactly. I'm a fan of the sport as well, and actually there's a lot of great fights. I mean, for me, the fight of the night is going to be Cub Swanson versus Dustin Poirier. I think that's going to be an amazing fight. So just as a fan, watching these fights is going to be great, especially having the access I do, getting close and that sort of stuff, so it's brilliant. But also it kind of makes you want to fight because I'm a competitor. I like competing. I don't like training 8 weeks before a fight. I like competing and fighting. So when you get there and you get the atmosphere, all you do is you just want to jump in there. But it would make me think of my fight in Stockholm.
And speaking of your fight in Stockholm, you're facing Mike Easton, tough guy. What do you think about him as an opponent?
He's a tough opponent. He's very well-rounded. I don't think there's many scrubs now in the UFC, so every fight you have, people are hungry. He's won his first 3 fights in the UFC, and then he lost his last one against Rafael Sassan. He's a tough opponent anyway. So we're both coming off losses. We're both going to be hungry to get back on winning ways. The last time I came off a loss to Henan Barrow, I fought in Sweden and got a win. So hopefully this is a good
a winning formula.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So hopefully I'll go there. I love the Swedish crowd. To be honest, without just saying this because I know you guys are Swedish, I think the Swedish crowd are probably the most intelligent MMA crowd I've ever witnessed. They understand.
You heard it here first.
But I'm not even just saying it. It's true. Even though they had the first UFC event, MMA is quite big out there, and you see the crowd will appreciate transitions. They'll hear them clap. They're a very respectful crowd. Like after my fight, when I walked out in the crowd, it's a very nice atmosphere. Where in American crowds sometimes you get boo, and it's just like, oh, get over it. I don't like people booing, and I find that the Swedish crowds are very respectful and fun to fight in front of.
Well, we saw quite a bit of, unfortunately, we saw quite a bit of booing in, for example, Damian Maia's fight against John Fitch. We also saw when Henan Barrow fought for the interim title in Canada. As a fighter, how do you feel when you hear your fellow fighters being booed for their performances?
For me, sometimes people deserve to be booed. Well, no one deserves to be booed. That's me saying that wrong. No one deserves to be booed, but I can understand why some people paying money, sitting on their seats, are frustrated with what they're watching and nothing going on. But sometimes I do think it's unwanted. There's a lot on the line for these guys. Sometimes you could lose a fight and you could get thrown out of the UFC, and that's your career. Back to the bottom. So sometimes there's a lot of line, and it puts that pressure on you, sort of thing, to make sure you win. So it's a lot of pressure the UFC puts on you. But for me, I like to be exciting, and I want to be that guy who has exciting fights. Like my last fight against Eddie Wineland, for me, I hated that fight because for me it was so unexciting. I just wanted to fight. He done the right thing. He had a great game plan. He stuck. He moved. He hit me. Moved out the way. He didn't want to. Not saying it was he was scared of me, but he didn't want to engage in, and it was the right thing to do. And I've got to work on things now so that people don't do that. Because I just wanted to go out there and put on New Year's Eve, Vegas, fighting. Let's just have I wasn't really worrying about the outcome. I was more wanting to be in a good fight. And I was so disappointed not being in a good fight. Because I pride myself on being in good fights, And I was so disappointed. So this one, I want to definitely make up for it. And hopefully Mike Easton comes to fight and makes for an exciting fight.
Well, I mean, I wouldn't say it was an unexciting fight, and after all, out of all the people we've talked to today, you've actually been brought up a few times when we've talked about British fighters, and I think most people are in consensus that you are one of the most exciting fighters in the bantamweight division. What in your fighting style or in your training would you say attributes to that sort of success amongst the fans?
It's just my will. It's not like my certain skill. It's just my attitude. I'll come forward. I want to make you fight. I want to fight. I'm a good competitor. If I didn't do any training and didn't have any skills, in my eyes, I was still a good fight. I just doing this, whatever. But I'm still gonna fight and come forward and take punishment and give punishment. It's just my style, and some people it works for me, but some people it doesn't work for, and people have to stick. It makes different styles. I find just with my style, it makes for exciting fights.
And I guess seeing Mike Easton's loss to Rafael Sansa, would you say that sort of opened your eyes to some of the holes in his game in any way?
Not really. As in, like, obviously, I'll study the tape a lot more about his style and stuff. But I think he's quite well-rounded. I think everyone within the UFC now are very well-rounded people. You don't just come here from a boxing background or just come here from being just a wrestler. You have to have other skills as well. I think he's well-rounded, and I don't want to say I'm not a trash talker, but I just wish he comes to fight, and I hope so.
All right. Well, I assume you've taken a look at the rest of the card, UFC Stockholm. What do you think about the rest of the matchups and the fighters that'll be there?
I haven't seen all the fights, and they keep adding all the time. But yeah, I think the main event, Gustafsson versus Mousasi, is going to be a very interesting fight. Mousasi for me was a massive name a few years ago. He's been like I don't know, he was injured, wasn't he? Or
I think he was for a while.
Yeah, he was out for some time. Now he's back, and he's got a good record. That'd be a great scout for Gustafsson. And I think if he wins that fight, he should have the next shot. Definitely against the winner of Jones and Chow. Other fights on the card, Ross Pearson, a fellow Englishman, fighting a Couture. That should be an entertaining fight. Ross is always in good fights as well. Hamid is on the card. I just like watching him fight. He's fun. He's a fun guy inside and outside the cage. Obviously a lot of people follow him. Yeah, I'm just looking forward. I just wish to bring Serwan Kakai, to the UFC.
You, me, and the Swedish MMA community alike, I can say.
You just don't know what's going on. This guy's got bags of talent. He's a training partner of mine, and he's really good. I just think he's going to try and injure me in my training camp so he could try and take my spot.
Well,
I get injured, it was Serwan.
So he's sabotaged in that case.
He's like stabbed me in the back in the change rooms or something.
And now we've got UFC London 2013 coming up this weekend. Must be pretty exciting. A lot of British fighters on the card. Any fight in particular you're looking forward to?
To be honest, the fight I'm looking forward to most is not a British guy fighting. It's Dustin Poirier versus Cub Swanson. Man, these two guys are so exciting to watch the fight. I can't see this being a boring fight in any way. They're both like striking. They're both very creative with their striking. They're both very aggressive. They both have tools to finish the fight. They're both tough. They could take a punch. They both could give a punch. So I'm really, for me, that'd be the fight of the night, without a doubt.
So if you predict that as fight of the night, do you have any predictions for knockout and submission of the night?
Submission of the night, you got a lot of good jiu-jitsu guys. You got Gunnar Nelson, you got Paul Sass, and you got George Santiago. He's you've got a lot of good submission guys on the card. So yeah, it's got to be. If you're going to say submission, it's got to be one of them guys. For knockout, you got to look at people like Jimmy Manuwa. He throws hard and stuff like that. So if there's going to be a knockout, he could do it. But I think Cyril Dibay is no stranger to fights. He's not going to be intimidated by Jimmy, and I quite easily see him taking Jimmy down and giving him a tough time and try and submit Jimmy. That's where I think the fight might go. So it'd be a cat and mouse. If Jimmy could keep it to his feet, if he can't, I could see Cyril actually submitting him.
Well, yeah, it was a bit unexpected seeing a submission win from Cyril Dibay lately. So it's obviously a sign that fighters are constantly improving and training on new things. Is there anything that you've been training on, or anything new that you've taken on?
Yeah, I'm always training and trying to improve in every area. But just going back to what you're saying, like Cyril, like for me, if I fight a fighter, if he's a really good striker and I'm a really good striker, and he's really bad on the floor, but I'm okay on the floor, am I going to stand with him? A little bit. I'm going to take him down. I'm going to take him where he's not as good. And I think that would be a case with Cyril and Jimmy. Jimmy's got good stand-up, so Cyril. But I think Cyril maybe is a more well-rounded guy because he's been fighting a lot longer. And we'll try and take Jimmy down and submit him. But Jimmy's got very athletic guy. And he's not easy task keeping him down. He's got raw ability, and he can easily get back to his feet. And that's going to be an interesting fight as well.
Well, it seems like it'll be a whole night of interesting fights, and definitely a whole night of interesting fights when we see you next time as well. For that card in Sweden, how long will you be in Sweden before a fight? Where will you do your training camp before?
My training, actually, I'm here for this thing, and then after this I'll go to American Top Team and I'll do my camp there, and I fly back to England the week before my fight, and I'll be in England for a few days, then I'll fly to Sweden on a Tuesday, and then same as I did last time. I was there, I was back not as far as Sweden, but I was back to England a week before my fight, acclimatized for a few days, and then I flew to Sweden on Tuesday, and I felt good. I wasn't jet lagged.
All right. Well, I guess we can round off by asking, it's Valentine's Day tomorrow. Do you have anything special planned?
Yeah, I've got a date with Dana White. Actually,
it could be a very dangerous date if it goes wrong.
Yeah, I've got to take Dana White around East London and show him where I'm from and where I'm about. Show him a bit of Cockney Rhyme, where Jack the Ripper was. Give him some pie and mash.
Most romantic thing I've ever heard.
Exactly. Yeah. So me and Dana White's got a date. I don't know. My Mrs. Sarah pretty unhappy about that, but yeah.
All right. Well, it should be interesting. I hope you can do some kind of video blog on that as well.
It will be. I think it is getting videoed, so people should be able to see it somewhere.
All right, well, very exciting to see. It'll be very exciting to see you as well. UFC Stockholm 2013. Brad Pickett faces Mike Easton. And thank you very much. Look forward to seeing you on Saturday.
Thank you. Appreciate it. Thank you.
Programmet presenteras av betsafe.com.